Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the colleagues here.
Dave.
Nate.
And today we got a GM 911 from Chad Manning. And he's got this, political world where we've got the players kind of outside of the establishment. And he wants to know how to run a more guerrilla tactic style game, would you say?
Yeah, so it's what it sounds like. The players are non-nobles, the regime is nobles. And, the question was, he wanted to run a game that was like hit-and-run tactics, guerrilla tactics. He used examples of Shadowrun-esque, and also
Saints Row.
Saints Row, which unfortunately I'm not very familiar with. So, but that being said, I definitely feel like we can help him out and talk about elements of running this campaign where the players are working from the underground, and it's not going to be your traditional dungeon crawl.
Right. I would look at it from a couple of ways. I've played Shadowrun. It's quite a while ago. Got the new books. Getting ready to try it out. But you've got there you're part of the corporation or you're not, and you can go into some of those nitty gritty battles. So you kind of have that same thing here. And I would definitely have some kind of either rebellion that the players can work with, or something that the players can start. If they talk to the right
Love
people.
you a resistance.
And if the goal is to really, topple this regime and, insert people who are not noble, then there's got to be, different scenarios that the players can interfere, stop, or totally shut down, and still be able to get away. So you're going to need to build the correct things, and the players need to be aware of, before they go into something like this, what type of things they have to be, willing and able to do.
Yeah, that's the first most with this kind of game, is setting the proper expectations for the players so they understand what kind of game it is. Make sure everyone's playing in the game that they want to play in. And two, you hit the nail right on the head. It's all about objectives with this type of game, right? The players are going to constantly need objectives. Is it to disrupt the supply flow? Is it taking important hostages? Is it assassinating key people? Like there's all these things, and ultimately, like, the players are going to constantly be from the standpoint of the underdog. So.
Yeah, there's a reason why they haven't won. Yeah.
So you always want to present them with kind of almost like a time limit, or they will be facing overwhelming odds.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like and like the first couple times that this happens, and if they don't get it, take them prisoner, kill a character, something. Like, let them know that it's serious.
Kill a character, make him serious.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, like, sometimes it's hard to get your players to understand the mindset of a particular type of game, and they just want to kick in the door and kill the monster. Yeah, this is not that game.
That's what I was exactly going to say. There are times when you can fight until the last man, and this is not a situation that's feasible. You have to go in, and the players have to be aware. All right, we have 4 rounds. We have 4 rounds of combat, and then we need to get out. End of story.
Yeah, because that means like a half minute went by or whatever, and
Ryan keeps bringing up an interesting game mechanic that he wants to use using a Jenga tower. I forget the actual name of it.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
But you could definitely do like a mini Jenga tower or a bigger Jenga, depending, and be like, look, this is the clock, and if if this thing comes down, all hell is going to break loose, and you're going to have negative consequences to deal with.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Every player, you take a turn, you take a piece.
Essentially, yeah. Nice. I mean, maybe you could even use a full size Jenga tower. I really don't play Jenga.
I think that would take a while, because even if you've got 9 players around the table, as we sometimes do. Yeah, that's going to go quick.
I would think the time limit would determine how tall the tower was.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, this may take. You could probably actually figure it out on on Google and be like, how long should it take with how many turns, blah blah blah,
Right.
Jenga tower.
Yeah.
And there, someone has probably figured it out.
Map it out for
Yeah.
what you need.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone in the comments just gave you a dysentery on it.
But I would definitely say that as the DM, you want to give the players, there's always got to be multiple options of things that they can do when if you don't have an established resistance where there's a leader directly saying, okay, this is your objective, then you have to say, all right, if these guys are the leaders of this resistance, then they have to, either be doing the research themselves, trying to find out what things that they can do that will mess with the nobles, and put forth some options and say, okay, based on your research, this is a possible target, and this is what you feel will happen if you succeed on this mission. If you've got a leader set up that's giving them objectives, then it's great. You don't have to worry about that angle. But if the players are really, running the show, then it's got to be a balancing factor, and they have to make the decision of, okay, well, do I go, interrupt the supply lines so that they don't have these things, or do I go stop the this event from happening that's going to rally support against us? So you've got a balancing factor.
There's another good point too. Is the fact is what the resistance, the players, how are they viewed by the populace? Are they freedom fighters or are they terrorists? Are there friendlies or at least not enemies that are mixed in with the enemies that can either be used as hostages against them, or if you're supposed to be the good guys, are you looking to minimize the casualties where maybe this ruling class doesn't really give a damn?
Right.
They'll just make a story, and the papers will do with what they want. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
So it
much.
doesn't really matter how many people die in it, really.
Or the other thing is too, like how important secrecy for the characters. Like, are their identities? Are they trying to keep them from being discovered because do they have family or loved ones that can be used against them as leverage?
Is there already someone being used, being captive that they're, trying to eventually be able to get out?
Or is like that part of the catalyst for one of your characters is, they lost people to the ruling class and the noble, and they have nothing to lose and they don't care anymore.
Yeah, with Catalyst, I've been quiet now since I've got way too much to say. I'm trying to organize it, but first off, like I would start. If you don't want it to be kind of like a lame-o, like, oh, you're starting a rebellion or something, there's got to be a reason why you're starting it right now. Is there like a new law? Did they start cracking down on people? And like you guys have said, have they captured somebody and this is why you join the resistance kind of thing? What's the resistance purpose? So I would say that there's got to be a reason why it's happening now and didn't happen 10 years ago, or was it happening 10 years ago and it got beat down so much that this is like crawling back out of the blast crater that the resistance was bombed into. So it's why is it happening now other than
It has a leader risen up all of a sudden. From the rabble that people are willing to rally behind. Like it can even be something like that. Like
so it can be, it's a catalyst on one of the sides has to occur, or a catalyst happens that the rebels react to and have somebody come into the scene that's like the quasi leader. So I would do a lot of supply chain disruption with the basically hitting individual nobles. I target the most egregious offenders in the nobility that you can get to. So if there's somebody that is just really messing with the people or really
can I interject something
Sure.
real fast? This is real easy. I mean, it's going to suck up like 3 hours of your life, but it's worth it. If you haven't watched Braveheart, watch Braveheart. Like you can see kind of what they did, what William Wallace does when he goes crazy. Mm-hmm. Like and he turns from like this war to him doing this like one man thing, where he starts just executing people. So like that's also a good way to go about. But again, it's all about just sticking to objectives and letting them know going beyond that objective will risk the mission. Go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
Yeah. So I would say that if there's an egregious offender in the nobility, that you're targeting them for a reason, and maybe some of the nobles are actually decent people, or is it just like some guy? I mean, I really don't like black and white kind of like
Right.
dystopian future kind of thing, where it's just like, yeah, we can just murder all the nobles and they're all evil.
Well,
Let's
I mean,
go.
Part of it could very well be, sneak into Noble X's house and have a talk. Try to convince him. Look, you know what we've been doing. Here's our side. You're either against us or with us.
I would say that he would just stall until his guys come.
Yeah, that's more back into the black and white.
Yeah,
No,
you would go and you'd know
you'd
ahead of
find a
time whether or not
sympathizer.
someone's going to be a sympathizer, and then maybe when you go to have a meeting with him, he is or is not. That's when you find
Okay.
out, because he
Well,
either double crosses you
again,
or he's going
right?
to double agent you.
Another movie, Gladiator, right? They had that guy in there. He got caught and killed, or was going to be killed or arrested
Yep.
at least. So it's the same thing. But you find the sympathizer, you connect with them, and that could be like a whole mission unto itself. And then the other thing is like, but you could still do like you said, Ted. It's you still like he's a sympathizer, but he isn't ready to stick his neck out yet. So like you could have that encounter where you sneak in and you do try and convince him.
Or maybe someone is a patron of the resistance. There's somebody supplying them with information. I mean, they could have several: supply with information, supply with money and funds and weapons, and or is it like part of the mission might be stealing stuff? Like that could be some of the easy first missions. Steal it, like we want a rocket launcher. Steal a rocket launcher. Like it's not an easy thing to do. Go get one. That could be a mission in of itself. Is getting more ammunition and more munitions. So.
But in a D&D-esque game, the common folk, they don't have weapons and armor training, so you have to figure out how much you want to get, populace versus players involved, and whether you want to go like simple missions where it's all just the PCs doing stuff, or whether you want to broaden it out into the Braveheart situation where eventual war breaks out, and if you're not funded, you're not going to have guys that are trained and armed properly that are just going to get mowed down.
I would train everybody in anti-personnel siege equipment. Like the catapults that just launched a whole bunch of terrible things into the air. Commoners can operate those things. They're designed.
But that could actually be like that.
Wind this winch, pull this lever. When I tell
be an
you,
adventure getting the catapult.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They need to have access to it, and they can operate it, but the chance, without practice, they're not likely to hit anything.
area of effect, baby. Area of effect.
Hitting the wrong area is not effective.
So this is true.
I think that you're gonna, as the DM, want to have an idea of what your overall arc looks like. You don't need to plan everything. Just look at what your key points are, your outline, and then get player feedback. And as the players move along your arc, figure out what kind of branches and things they're really interested in, and you're possibly going to have to change your arc to see where they make a change to your plan and be able to go along with it. Because
Essentially, if you just ask the 5 questions and do like a sentence for each, who, what, where, when, why, and the Vegas of outlines, and then just early on, kind of what you want them to do would be the idea.
And if they want to take their own initiative and do certain missions, they might decide that assassinating everybody is the best way to go. But when it comes down to it, there's just going to be another person to take their place. Unless they're like a super key person, like super charismatic person that they're assassinating.
Right.
It's just going to be another bureaucratic schlub.
There's always
into the mix.
There's always a son, daughter, brother, sister, wife, husband. You kill
Second
somebody.
cousin.
You kill somebody. There's always going to be someone who's going to get upset and step into that line and say, "Look what they've done!" And you're something.
Now I'm going to make it harder on the peasants, which will be good actually if they make. So you might actually want to kill off a few people and make it harder on the peasants.
Maybe it
It's
can
actually-
it can go either way though. It can
Actually, the winter
backfire.
also just you can do research on actual revolutions. They're all terrible to the common people. They're all bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Generally that's why they happen. In the first place.
Right.
Well, no, but I mean, yes, the current regime is terrible to the common people, but the things that the revolutionaries do actually makes it worse for the common people.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the catalyst.
Okay.
They the thing that they want they invoke tenfold, and then vice versa, and it just keeps going. But hey, guys, with that, did we answer the question? Do you guys have suggestions? You know what to do. Put them in the comments. While you're at it, like, share, subscribe.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
Enjoy the conversation over on Reddit.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.